Hey there guys, welcome back, ARTFX Studios, and today I want to talk about a bass that was requested yesterday on my Twitter. It was a request for a burial pitch bend kind of bass, and I decided to recreate it, and it sounds like this. Now, if you want to know which track that is, it's the bass line from the track Burial Etched Headblade, I guess. Yeah, that's it. So, let's get to it. Let's see how to recreate this. I'm gonna turn off everything, just like every time I do this. And I'm gonna open up this patch, and I'm gonna turn off the filters. And I'm also going to disable all the effects. So the first basic thing of the actual sound is I've got a saw wave with 3 voices. You could put a little bit more voices on this if you want, but I wanted to save a bit of CPU for this, so you could whack this up to something higher. But I found it sounded pretty good with 3 voices. Now the octave is brought down to -1, and I lay that with a sub. You can see my envelope for the amp envelope has a pretty sharp, pretty fast decay, so it drops down a little bit because I could hear on the original track. Okay. I could hear on the original track that there was some kind of a pretty sharp attack on the start of the sound, which sounded like a volume automation, so I basically just did that with the amp envelope. And I laid that with a sub. Now that sounds like this. And you can see I'm using the monophonic legato options, and I'm using the portamento, and I've also turned on the always knob, which basically means that it doesn't really matter whether or not we have overlapping notes in the MIDI clip, like so. If I wouldn't turn that always knob on, what we would get is that right here, this would be a pitch bend, but from here to here will not be a pitch bend because these notes don't overlap. I don't think the original has used that kind of thing, but I do notice that when I turn it on, it actually made the bass line a bit smoother, and it sounded a bit more like the original, so I don't know. I still think the original doesn't use that kind of thing, but I'm not totally sure about that. Anyway, it sounded quite good with that turned on. Now, I also added a filter, a low-pass filter, and I'm using a lot of drive, so we're really saturating this. Now, the drive knob and the fat knob are quite similar. They both increase the volume. However, the drive knob also saturates the signal in a really it creates additional harmonics on the sound that you have. So I'm actually low passing this with a low pass 12 and using quite of that drive, so that turns this into this. Now, that's okay, and I think it's pretty close to what the original is actually using, minus the effects that we have on here. But I found out that there was something missing, and I decided to add an oscillator with a sine wave. That's actually a sine wave with a band plus on it. I don't know why. I just played around with it and found out that this sounded pretty good. So I have the sine wave with a band plus warping mode on it, and what that's gonna do is, without that bend, this is actually a sub bass, but it has two voices which are detuned, so we're getting sort of like a volume wobble on that sub bass. And if we layer that with our normal sub, the bass response will not be that strong anymore, because we are actually going to get a lot of phase cancellation because it's in the sub range. Now, when I add that little bit of bend, and you can see the shape of the waveform, what's actually happening. If we go up all the way, it starts to sound more like a saw wave. So just a little bit makes quite a difference. Now actually these two waveforms are not completely the same, so the actual volume difference that we get, the phase cancellation that we get, is gonna get less pronounced. It's gonna get, we're simply gonna get less of that phase cancellation because the waveforms are not completely the same. That's what I wanted to say. And layer that with the saw wave. Now we're getting a little bit of clipping over here now. So let's get into the effects. One thing though, I've also brought up the curve on the pitch bend. I'm not completely sure. Maybe in the original track, Burial has actually done the pitch bend using the pitch bend wheel, which would make sense because you have a little bit more control over the actual shape of the pitch bend. But I wanted to have that control about the notes, you know, so I know exactly sure to what note I'm actually pitch bending. Whether with the pitch bend wheel, you might not have that complete control. However, you do have more control over the shape. But in Serum, we actually have that control right here. So I decided to do it inside Serum. Then the effects, these are pretty important. First one is a distortion. Just a little bit of tube distortion, the low pass on post, so we don't get all the additional harmonics from the distortion. Just slightly low passed, I don't know, doesn't really make much of a difference. Then I decided to add a chorus to make it a little bit wider. Now the sub is not running through the effects because I'm enabling the direct out button, so the sub doesn't get the chorus on it, so we still get a solid bass response. Then I have an EQ that's basically scooping out almost everything except the sub. Well, yeah, it's also scooping out the sub. It's scooping out the sub and the high end, just leaving a small part in the mids. So without the sub on it, just gonna get that. And then I have low pass that again. Boost that drive knob quite a bit. Layer that with the sub. And we get that. So then we move into the other effects. The first thing I did is I compressed this quite heavy, I guess. Well, we don't get too much gain reduction, but I'm just compressing it to bring the actual volume up. And the next thing I decided to do is add Maximus. And this really brings the volume up to a quite reasonable level. I could actually increase the volume inside Serum a bit. And there's one more thing I decided to do. When it pitch bends up to those really high notes, I find that we got a little bit too much of those upper harmonics. So what I decided to do is take EQ8 and create a notch. Just create a notch right around the 280 Hertz area, and that basically scoops out those upper harmonics that I don't need. So this without that EQ. And then this is width. So the difference is really small, and I don't know if you can really notice the difference if you are not listening on headphones or good monitor speakers, but yeah, I hope you like this. That's it for the whole patch. It's a pretty simple sound actually, and I quite like the sound of it. If you like this video, then subscribe to this channel. I'm doing quite a lot of videos this week, and that's doing pretty good. I like it. I'm trying to keep up with the schedule as much as I can. I might skip a day or two every now and then, but I'm gonna try and keep up with this uploading schedule that I'm trying to do now. If you want to see more of this, or if you want to know more about me, then you can go to my website, which is www.artfx-studios.com. On there you can find all my videos, my tutorials. You can find articles that I write on my blog. You can find a whole bunch of packs with presets and samples that I have on my website. And there's also a music production forum where you can talk to me, to other music producers, and just ask your questions and get them answered by me. That's basically what I'm trying to do, because within the YouTube comments, I can answer a question, but I find it's usually a lot easier if I actually can answer those questions pretty detailed on my own website, where I can actually post screenshots, or I can really go in depth about the subject. And the great thing about it is that if in the future somebody else has that same problem, they will be able to find the solution on my website. So if you have a question, please come to my website, and I hope to see you there soon. And yeah, other than that, I'll see you back tomorrow. Peace.